Hey guys, it is MissSimReno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you're brand new, I am very excited that you decided to join me here today for another speed build. And today we are building in Willow Creek, and we are just building a reasonably large family home. Now, large is kind of subjective, right? There are definitely those who build like literally huge family homes, like mansions and stuff like that. But for me, this felt like a pretty large family home. And I was actually really pleased with the shape of the house. As I was kind of putting it together, like at this point, I was thinking, wow, this is actually a little bit odd. It's kind of like a long home, and yet there are like these jutting out pieces that are just a bit awkward, and it looks really naked. Do you know what I mean? Like when you first build a shell without putting the siding on or really deciding where all of the windows and doors are, you know, all those accents that really make it look realistic. It looked really odd as a shell, but then once I started to put some of the brick here as well as the siding and kind of changing up the roof and whatnot, I really loved how this came out. I thought it was so pretty, and it seems to me very different from some of my other homes, and maybe that's really just because I did use Snowy Escape for the first time outside of Mount Komorebi. That's probably why. And as you can see, I mainly used the windows from this pack because to me, the ones without the what are they called? Like the shoji screens? I used the versions without those screens, and to me they kind of look like stereotypical farmhouse windows. If that makes sense, if that kind of resonates with you guys. That's what I was kind of thinking. And originally I was even thinking that this could have been somewhat of a farmhouse, but I didn't really want to go strictly down that path. I didn't want to make it a farmhouse definitively. So I was really just kind of seeing where the build took me because I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to make, but I liked the shape. I liked the color scheme. I liked kind of diversifying, I think, the colors on the first story and the second story. Typically when I make homes, they're kind of all one color. It's actually quite rare that I do maybe like a brick on the first level and then a siding on the top, but I think it does break apart a build in a nice way, and I kind of want to try to do it, I think, a little bit more than I have been in the past or that I have done in the past. And here I am trying to make kind of a custom fence with the debug items, but I ended up just going with this kind of, I want to say it's a stone texture. It doesn't look like it's cement or brick or anything, but kind of like this stone fencing that's in the debug menu. And again, I didn't enclose the entire front yard per se, and I don't enclose the backyard either, I don't think. I always kind of leave it open. However, there's usually a lot of vegetation and like landscaping in front of those open pieces for me. I also took a gate here from just the regular old menu, the build and buy menu. It's actually one from base game, and it's really nice. I've been doing this a lot lately where I take a gate and I may not necessarily place it on a fence. And especially with this one, since it's debug, there wasn't a way for a gate to actually clip to the fence. So I thought it was kind of nice to just plop it right in the front, because what's great is that your Sims will walk through it. They will use the gate, which I think is so cool. And depending on the debug menu item, they might walk through it, or they might actually like notice it as an object and not try to walk through it. But I think that my test sim actually did walk through the gate, so I was really pleased with that. And now I'm decorating the front yard a bit. It was kind of a bigger front yard than I'm used to making, but I did that on purpose because I wanted there to be some activities and some places for your Sims to kind of sit and just enjoy being outside. I kind of had a bike there at the front. There is the, oh my gosh, the clothesline. I was gonna call it like a drying rack. That is not what that is, but I have the clothesline there in the front as well. However, I did realize, like right as I said that I don't think I put a washer in this build or a wash tub, so it's kind of just there for display. Unless you want laundry in your build, you will have to place some kind of like the wash basin or the washing machine or something. And now I'm working out the floor plan, and I've been doing this a lot lately where I don't solidify where all the windows are on the back of the home until I really work out the floor plan. So I'm working out the floor plan here on the first story, and it was a little bit difficult because I was really trying to avoid this huge entryway, but there was kind of no way for me to split up the floor plan without leaving this huge entryway in the front. So I kind of just went with it and decided to just go with the flow a little bit more. I have been overthinking my floor plans, I think, a lot lately, at least for me. It might not be obvious to you guys, but I have been overthinking them for a very long time, and I'm trying to kind of loosen up a little bit. So I kind of just went with it, and in the end, I actually do really like how it came out. It was difficult to place the stairs, and I didn't like that there was a one tile space between the bottom of the staircase and a wall leading towards the back entryway. I always struggle with what to call that, but I didn't really like that at first, but I ended up filling it with a bookcase, which kind of worked for me. And now I'm on the second story, also trying to figure out the floor plan just to make sure that it worked, because I have been learning the hard way lately that if I don't figure out the floor plan on the second story before working on the first story, I could be in for a very rude surprise, like a very rude awakening, because if the floor plan doesn't work out on the second story, but it's great on the first story, you're kind of screwed. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't do that to myself. And now I'm trying to pick out the flooring and the color scheme. And initially I was a bit conflicted because of the gray wood paneling on the wallpaper that I chose and the floors, but I think it actually works. I'm trying to get a little bit more comfortable mixing more and more different colors and styles, so I kind of just left it and decided to yet again go with the flow. But this kitchen is one of my favorite ever. I actually shared a screenshot over in my Discord at one point, and since then it has drastically changed. The color scheme didn't change, but I kind of changed the size of it and where certain objects were. I actually completely bulldozed it and then did it again, but I really love this really deep kind of like cherry color in the counters and in the cabinets. And I mean, Parenthood is probably one of my favorite packs for build and buy as is, especially all of the kitchen items. So I really did love this kitchen, and I loved using the oven and stove without the little lip on it from Snowy Escape. I was so excited to use that in a build, and I almost contemplated putting it in the island, but there are only 2 countertops to make up that island, so it just wouldn't have worked the way I wanted it to. But I'm cluttering up the kitchen now, and I really just wanted to make it, as I always do with my builds, really homey and warm and welcoming. And I thought the kitchen was like one of the most welcoming places in this home. And the color scheme for the kitchen is drastically, in my opinion, drastically different compared to the rest of the build. Though if I do think about it, I carry over the kind of like pale pink that's in the tiling and kind of the not really light blue. I kind of went a little bit more pale with the blue, maybe even more teal. But I do carry those colors throughout, but I kind of mix them with a little bit more of a gray or just softer, toned down, almost cream colored woods. But I do mix a few different things. There's a lot of white in there too, so it kind of does all go together. But I think the kitchen is really a statement with all of this red, like dark cherry wood all over the place. It doesn't show up anywhere else in the build. So the kitchen is very unique, but I really loved it, and I didn't want to tone it down at all. And at the end of the day, I have kind of noticed that in a lot of homes, at least realistically, there isn't this theme carried out throughout an entire house, especially through bedrooms and maybe even kitchens and bathrooms. I would say like living rooms are usually pretty cohesive with dining rooms maybe, but like for my mom, for example, like her home, I think every single room is a little bit different. And I don't know, I think that's realistic. So I tried not to worry about it too much. And then I moved over to the dining room where, as you can see, I colored the little curtains there pink. And then I have kind of this purpley blue flower pattern on the chairs here, on the dining room chairs, and I just love being able to use a round dining table. I really try to use them as often as possible, but there aren't always opportunities to do so. So I was really happy to do that here. And then I just add a mirror, maybe some artwork, a couple of plants, and some lamps. Nothing too crazy. I think there's a mirror on the other wall as well. I tend to decorate a lot of my dining rooms the same. I typically get like a piece of artwork and maybe frame them with 2 sconces, or I take those little corner shelves from Cats and Dogs and just shove them in 2 corners to kind of frame things. I don't know why I do that all the time, but for this build, I didn't even fight it. I thought it worked perfectly, so I just left it as is. And then we move on to the little entryway. I just kind of went from room to room. I didn't necessarily have a plan for this house too, I should probably mention. I knew I wanted it to be for when I say a larger family, there's actually only 2 kids in this family that I was envisioning, like 2 parents and 2 kids, but the home itself is pretty big, and that room right there to the right behind the little barn door is actually an office. So there are a few opportunities to maybe change a room or 2 into another bedroom if you really wanted to. So let's say you were playing with a family that had 2 kids and they had another one, you'd be able to transform that space into a bedroom if you wanted to, but upstairs was a little tough because of where the stairs were placed. I made the decision because I did the floor plan prior to decorating downstairs, but it was a little bit tough, and it was a little bit challenging to ensure that there was is there more than 2 bathrooms? there might even be 2.5 bathrooms. I honestly can't remember anymore. This is a pre-recorded build, and I've been mentioning this in my last few builds that I pre-recorded, I think maybe 3 to 5 builds in the past week or two. And that was insane. I haven't done that in a very long time, but now I'm going back and like watching the footage for the first time in a while, like since I built it. And honestly, a week seems like forever when you do 2 to 3 builds a week, if not more. So it's been a long time since I've actually seen the footage playback, and I'm trying to remember the decisions that I made as they're popping up. But anyway, we are in the living room now, which I love this living room. I don't know why it really sticks out to me now. I did struggle with it a little bit, but I think the color scheme was so soft and pretty. I just really adore it, and I loved mixing kind of like that darker wood tone with these lighter wood tones in the side tables and the coffee table, as well as the flooring. That's just one of my favorite floorings as is. It doesn't matter which one I use, which swatch I use, I just love that flooring. So anything that goes together with that is good in my book, but it looked like a really cozy living space, and there was room for 5 Sims, which I think is really nice because, like I said, if you wanted them to have another child or something, maybe a grandparent came to live with them, there would be the ability to transform the office into a bedroom, and there would already be enough seating in the dining room as well as the living room. I call that a win in my book. I did struggle a bit with some of these empty spaces in the living room, though. I thought maybe putting a couple of those bookcases together would look nice, but it looked a little bit too crammed, and I think it's because these bookcases they jut from the wall a bit more than I would like. I think there's one from base game that's technically unlocked with a career, but I always have everything unlocked, so sometimes I don't remember. But there's like this flatter bookcase that's taller too. I think it fills the entirety of the lowest or the shortest wall height, and it's very flat, so you can fit that skinny legend anywhere you want, but it just didn't really fit the style for this build. So I ended up kind of just putting that bookcase at an angle, and I put a little chest table in the back, which I thought was nice. I also put 2 shelves underneath those paintings or pictures, whatever they are, and I kind of made it look like it was sitting on the shelf, though I didn't do the tool mod trick where I put it at a bit of an angle to make it look as if it's actually leaning on the shelf. I just didn't have the energy to do it. Sometimes it takes a lot out of me to use the tool mod, so I decided not to use it in this build in particular. And then I just work on this little hallway. There really isn't much here aside from an ottoman near that window and a plant. I didn't feel the need to overcrowd that space. And then this is the half bathroom. Oh, that's it. There is a half bathroom and a full bathroom downstairs. Again, if you did want to turn the office, which I don't do the office till the end of the build, nearer to the end of the build, because I wasn't actually sure what it was going to be until I was nearing the end of the build. But yeah, there would be a full bathroom available for a sim if there was a bedroom down there, which is kind of nice. And then there's the half bathroom for guests. And the bathrooms are quite similar. There really isn't anything different between the 3, I think, that are in this build, the 2 full baths and the half bath. I use the same tiles and like floor tiles and wall tiles and the same appliances and everything. As you can see, I didn't even copy everything over here, but I did make it almost identical to the half bathroom just because for me, that kind of consistency is really nice. And besides, I kind of struggle with bathrooms. I'm not gonna lie to you. Bathrooms are kind of hard because I can't over clutter them. I don't really know how to design them. So I just try to go for one color scheme and look, and then I just carry it through all the other bathrooms because I'm not that creative, let's just be honest. And then back here is kind of like the back entryway to the backyard, so there's just some clutter, some storage things. I think there's a little step stool, there's that little Seasons coat rack thing, as well as a mirror. Nothing too crazy or beautiful or stunning or anything like that. And then we go upstairs to the second floor, and I was kind of playing around with the windows a bit just to make sure I liked where they were sitting on the exterior as well as the interior. And considering we are having routing issues with those open staircases at the moment, I didn't even try to make this a big open staircase. I just kind of framed where the staircase had openings, do you know what I mean? From placing the staircase as is, but I'm really disappointed by that. I hope that that glitch is fixed really soon because some of you guys have mentioned actually that some of my builds seem a little bit broken at the moment, and I know I made a community post about it, but I did want to mention it here too, that they're not technically broken in the sense that like I broke them. I didn't break them. They worked when I play tested them because I do play test all of my builds, and I'm just really disappointed because basically there's a glitch where if you did use the fencing trick to make this open staircase and kind of like remove the flooring, it now has like total and utter routing issues where your Sims can't go up the stairs. They'll just kind of like wave at you and have that little bubble above their head being like, yo, I can't get up the stairs. And it's honestly infuriating. So just know that I do playtest them, and I'm sorry that some of these are broken right now, and I really hope that there's a fix for it soon. But now we're actually working on one of the other bedrooms because I talked all the way through the master, and I was trying to use the platform tool here too, but yeah, with the platforms, they count as a separate room, and that actually resulted in a lot of the roof pieces sticking out. So I just said, nope, not today. I am not dealing with the platforms. I love them, but I'm not going to use them today. And this room is for a child sim, and I'm not quite sure what this child sim is really into other than science. They just love science, and I don't know if it's for a son or a daughter or anything like that. I just was like, you know what, this sim loves science. That's it. They love science and experimenting, and they love space, and I really just wanted to use that new chemistry station that came with Snowy Escape, which I don't know why. I'm just kind of curious. I'm not complaining because I'm actually really glad that we got another kids item, to be honest. But like, why that table? I don't even know that many people that use that original chemistry station table from base game for their kids. I mean, I use it every now and then, but I don't like using it because I don't like the color swatches and I don't like the style of it. But I love the Snowy Escape one. I'm just really curious as to why they decided that item. You know what I mean? Out of all the things that we could get for like kids or toddlers or something, why that one? I'm really stuck on that, and I've been stuck on it since I was going through the Snowy Escape like build and buy catalog. So yeah, that's an insight into my brain. But this room has the kind of like blue and gray color scheme because I decided to actually use a gray furniture in all of the bedrooms, as you probably noticed at this point. And there's actually going to be another bedroom for a teen that also follows that color scheme, as well as the blue too. I pretty much carried that through both of the kid/the teenagers rooms. And I wanted it to match kind of like that wood paneling in the wallpaper. That's why. I don't have to, because clearly I didn't do that downstairs, but I don't know. I just really wanted to do that in the bedrooms just because, I don't know, bedrooms are some of my favorite rooms to do because I think they're the most personalized in a lot of ways, and at least in a lot of my builds. But anyway, we're moving on to the teenagers room. And again, I don't know if this is for a female or male sim, but they love snowboarding. They love winter. They love snowboarding. They love extreme sports all around. They are kind of like adrenaline junkies, I would think. And I don't know, I wanted to just use more of the Snowy Escape items and bring that into a world outside of Mount Komorebi, because maybe this teen, maybe they vacationed there once or twice and that's where they first learned how to snowboard or ski or something. And ever since then, they've been itching to go back. And when winter comes, they always are practicing and stuff like that. I just thought it was kind of a fun idea to play around with since we now have those skills and activities. So I was really excited about it. The room is a little bit small in my opinion, but I was very happy with how it turned out. I used a lot of like winter paintings and portraits and stuff like that. And I did, as I said, carry the gray and blue theme throughout this bedroom too. And I really liked this bedroom. I probably could have swapped it maybe with the bigger one that the child sim has. I'm not quite sure what led me to make the teens room smaller, because I would think that a teen would probably want a little bit more room than a child. But at the same time, the child seemed to have a lot more indoor interests. Do you know what I mean? Like this sim here, the teenager loves being outside and doing stuff like that. So maybe they just, I don't know if this carries over, but maybe they wouldn't need as big of a space because they're not spending as much time in their room, whereas the child sim is spending a lot more time in their room, like tinkering around with their chemistry station. Oh, that just makes me think of Harry Potter. Why don't you run along and play with your chemistry set? My accent is terrible, so don't make fun of me. But this is the office downstairs that I was telling you guys about earlier. I had finally decided that maybe mom or dad is a fashion designer, so they do have a computer desk in here. They have the little crafting cart, and they also have a mannequin and some posters that kind of reflect fashion design and stuff like that. And for the screenshots, I actually did just generate, surprisingly, a random everyday outfit to display on that mannequin. And I mean, it's very yellow, but it's not that bad. So hopefully you guys don't hate it. But there is this little like storage shelf in the back here, as well as an armchair in the corner in case one of the kiddos or the other partner wants to sit in here and chat while they're working. And there's just a couple of different clutter items there. There was the knitting basket in the teens room, but I think that the parent that's into fashion design also like crochets and knits and sews and all that fun stuff, which I really wish we actually had a sewing machine. I want to toss that idea out there. I wish that we had a sewing machine. And I'm thinking of one of the old like Singer machines that actually had the built-in pedal and the desk. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? It was kind of like a desk, and the sewing machine would like pop out of it, and then you would have the pedal on the bottom to actually control it. It's really beautiful. My mom used to have one of them. I don't know if she still does, but she is very crafty in that way, which is what makes me want this in The Sims. But now I am working on the porches here as well as the backyard, and I ended up using the same debug fence like I mentioned earlier and just kind of framing it a bit. And there's also a flower arranging station, and I think there's a grill, and I think there's actually a card table back there too, so you could play cards, or your Sims could have the Don't Wake the Llama game on there as well if you wanted them to kind of do an outside activity, or at least do an activity outside if the weather was nice enough. And then I just worked on the landscaping here, and I think there's a few gardening plots, a swing set, and an actual outside dining area too, which this wasn't one of my favorite backyards. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think it's one of my best, and that's just me being critical. You guys might love it, so don't tell me you hate it too much, but you can if you want to. But yeah, it's not one of my favorites because I thought it was going to be a lot bigger, and then I started framing it with these plants, and it was a lot smaller than I was anticipating. But I don't know, it's simple, it gets the job done. There are activities outside for Sims of different ages, and I guess that's all I really strive for with backyards, to be honest, just because I want them to have some form of function. But we are getting very, very close to the end of the build here, so I really hope that you guys enjoyed this one. It was a longer one. I haven't done a long one in a while now, at least that's how it feels. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to hear your thoughts, and I will catch you guys next time I post a video, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!